Hello and welcome to another episode of the Vital MX Post-Race Show. Washougal has been and gone, and to the shock and horror of fans worldwide, not only did we not have a Jett Lawrence win, we also didn't have a Hayden Deegan win. And if you'd ask someone to bet on the chances of both of those occurrences occurring on the same weekend, no one would have taken it. So what a time to be a pro motocross fan, and therefore this episode of the Vital MX Post-Race Show may have a slightly different tone to it as we dissect all that went on in the Washougal woodland. I'm your host, Phillips, and before we go any further, I of course want to thank Decal Works, Yamaha Motor USA, Fox Racing, Motorex, and Yoshimura for all of their support of this podcast. You'll hear more from them in the next hour or so, and you'll also hear more from my co-host, Michael Lindsay. Hello, how is it going for you?
Whoa, what?
How's it going? Simple question.
It's going fine.
No curveballs this early in the podcast, just a nice simple one. But if you can't handle that, we're in for a...
It's already going down. Yeah, this is where we're starting. This is the level.
Now, congrats to Decal Works, their first win of the outdoor season. And I actually want to look into this because I wonder when, maybe it's more recent than I'm even imagining, I wonder when KTM last went this far into the outdoor season without a win in either class. Maybe 2023, but Vial won Southwick, which would have been round 6-5, so that would have happened. Must be pre-Dungey, I'm thinking. Oh, no, because those Webb years... No, I'm way off. Because those Webb years, they never had a 250 guy, so Webb wasn't winning. But Marvin would have maybe picked up the slack.
You have to go back and look. And then are we counting... I mean, TLD was their official entry, but they weren't getting wins very often.
Yeah, they weren't getting any wins outdoors. Did TLD win a single race outdoors? I'm going to say... I want to say no. I want to say no quite confidently the more I think about it, because McElrath certainly never won an outdoor overall. Actually, no. Didn't McElrath win with like a 3-3 or something dumb at Budds Creek?
Yeah. Like that. I'm going to Marv now. 21. Marv didn't win an outdoor national. 20, he didn't win any. He was hurt a bunch in 19. 19 got podiums, but no wins. 18, he got a win at Unadilla.
Who are we talking about?
And Southwick. Yeah, so I mean, definitely some gap years there.
Anyway, none of it matters because Chase Sexton was our winner. And
number one in your heart and on the track.
Honestly, it's bad now because when Chase wins, I actually don't look forward to this podcast because I kind of know that I'm up shit creek without a paddle. Because I know that I could literally sit here and go, Chase rode well, and people are going to go fucking mental.
Does that go along with your half an hour post-race debrief with them? I don't even know if we call it an interview anymore. It's more like a debrief.
Don't discredit us. It was 31 minutes, so half an hour really discredits the amount of work that was done.
I missed a minute. I'm discrediting your work.
5 minutes of that podcast was actually us arguing over whether that was an interview or a podcast. So... that question that you just asked.
How many minutes of it was Steve talking about himself?
Steve appeared with like 7 minutes to go. But let me give you my biggest takeaway from the 31-minute Chase Sexton interview, which was in fact presented by Decal Works as well. Decal Works doing a lot for all of our post-race content on Vital MX, including this very show. A lot of talk about the balance of the bike. We know that's been Chase's gripe for some time. Front end's too high, rear end's too low. He just never seems to get it right. He did say that Wednesday at Baker's this week, he got it in a sweet spot, and it was a very special day. I was there on Tuesday, and that was not a sweet spot and not a special day. So it really does seem to be quite temperamental depending on conditions on any given day. I noticed that his bike seemed to be a lot more off in the second moto compared to the first. It just looked a little more seesaw-y, and he agreed. He said that he tried to slide the forks out to 1 mil for the second moto, and it wasn't the move, but that was his decision. And he said to the team on the restart, this isn't working, but they didn't have a stand, so they couldn't really do much, which was interesting. I thought Chase was very, very good in the whoops. I stood by the whoops in the first moto, and I was actually a little bit astounded that he was so much better, because it's rare to see a skill gap amongst the top riders in one specific section like that. And he said it was because he was talking to Jett about it, and he said that he was in 4th gear and Jett was in 3rd, and that was the difference because he could lug the bike more and get more traction. So although everyone wants to talk shit on Lewis and Chase, there you go, some quite good information there that you won't find anyone else.
The 1% becomes everybody to Lewis.
Also, that was a 31-minute interview, and I literally could only list like 2 things. So like that says a lot also.
Says a lot. Also, you don't even remember. When do you ever remember what you talked to somebody about? You remember one point when we talked about post-race interviews.
I really live in the moment with my interviews. Like, I really just kind of go with the flow. I don't really like think about much. I just kind of...
For anybody listening, the amount of people that come up to Lewis and say, I can't believe this person said this during your post-race interview, and the complete, utter look of shock on his face goes, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
you guys talked about that. I don't remember that.
I had to go and rewatch my Prado interview for press day because I needed to make some notes on that and figure out what I was getting myself into, but we'll get to more on that. No, Chase did ride brilliantly low, and in his 3rd race back, I do think that deserves some credit. It's earlier than I would have expected in his recovery run. I think he did have the measure of Jett. I thought it was quite interesting in the first moto, Jett ran him high in one of the turns after the whoops. And I thought to myself, like, it immediately struck me as like, oh, we don't normally see that from Jett. And I was like, oh, like I think there is a little bit of like Jett's on the ropes here. And that's fascinating to see. You could even tell that as well because early in the first moto, Chase was hitting the whoops, waves, whatever you want to call them, from the inside. Jett was hitting them.
We call them whoops in the US.
No one knows.
Lewis,
it's don't have waves. Track.
We don't have waves.
Chase was hitting them from the inside, Jett was hitting them from the outside. Then Jett moved to the inside after a couple of laps to try and copy Chase. Couldn't figure that out, then went back to the outside. So it was quite interesting, to see Jett on the ropes. We don't see that often. And Chase said, I didn't raise this, but Chase also said that he felt that Jett was almost reacting to him a little bit early in the second moto. And like Chase was like, oh, I've got something here. So I don't know, it's... As dumb as it sounds, it's so exciting to see this side of Jett Lawrence because his only other loss was, not a straight up loss. His only other loss was not a Jett Lawrence loss. It was just because of a crash and an injury. So to see Jett straight up challenged and lose is like you've opened up a whole other side.
He did crash in the first moto.
No, but come on,
I know.
You can't sit here and say that Jett lost because of that crash.
I think the tough one is I agree with you. Exciting, but this also comes back. We'll get to this in the Tomac conversation. How much weight do we put into a performance at Washougal midseason around that Jett notably says he does not like it? I mean, even from press day, talking about those whoops, I mean, Jett being a little bit of a complainer, I listened to him complain to the AMA guys for a solid 15 minutes about the whoops. Just doesn't like the place, doesn't vibe with it, doesn't get along with it. Not to say like, hey, it's a track. Everybody has to perform on all weekends, but notably to his admission, probably his weakest race of the year. Same thing, do we go back and praise like, wow, Tomac was so much closer, or do we kind of also weigh it up as, hey, it's a one-off with Washougal being in the middle of the calendar, very different. How much stock do you put in overall? As a one-off event, excellent. I hope it builds from there, but in the same breath, yes, like we know Chase can run with Jett, can beat Jett on any given day, but I don't know if I would say on the ropes.
No, I think Jett was
on the ropes.
I think the fact that Jett said to Chase after the race, what on earth were you doing in those whoops? Says that Jett was like, I don't know what to do with it. Like, I don't know how to react to this guy. This isn't making sense to me. Like, and as I say, the body language of that pass, I've never seen Jett make a pass like that outdoors. Because I think there was a bit of like, shit, like Chase is on it today, I need to react. I mean, I would have loved for you to do the Chase post-race interview and present that line of thinking, because that would have gone very differently. Although,
like I said,
everyone says I asked like Chase, go to the 19-minute part, I think 19 minutes of the interview, and you'll hear some tough journalism. No, I think...
Is that where you asked him, what the hell are you doing 2 years down the road with your bike?
Yep. No, I think... I mean, the question, okay, then, this is, I guess, what you're leading towards. Did Chase win or did Jett lose?
Kind of in a sense, and then like...
Well, no, but that isn't an answer. You have to, one or the other. Did Chase win or did Jett lose? Kind of in a sense. What does... Is the sky blue or red? Kind of in a sense. Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, good.
Jett lost.
No, see, I think it was a bit. No, I don't like. To be clear, this is a graphic on screen at the moment, and I came up with this question, which means that I was like toying with it in my own mind. It wasn't an automatic for me. I do think Chase won. I think that on this day, whether they were equal, or I think Chase was better in the first moto. I think Jett was better in the second moto. I think, without the fall, maybe they tie on points, but even so, I think the first moto, if we zero in on that, I think Jett lost that.
Yeah, I think, well, I'll talk about it too. I jokingly say the Jett lost to get you going, but at the end of the day, who wins is wins. Chase was the better man on the day, but I have a hard time going to on the ropes. Like, without the fall, I think we go 1-2, 2-1. I think it's a very even spread. One guy's better one moto, one guy's better the other moto. I don't all of a sudden weigh the one moto drastically over there. I think a very tick for tat style performance. Like, they're both just amazing at the moment. So one loses, one wins. We'll see what happens at the next one, though.
I wish I had like a boring drop.
I'll just say I can't sit here and after everything we've said, I can't sit here and just be like, he has him on the ropes. This is it, because it can go right back to the way when we go from how about, what happens in one weekend? Well, Millville last weekend were 30, 40 seconds down.
No, but I'm not talking bigger picture. I'm literally zeroing in on not even the whole day, Moto 1 specifically.
You found a reason. At the end of Moto 1, here is Lewis waving that Chase flag.
No, Moto. Jett was more on the ropes than he's ever been in an outdoor moto, 450s.
Oh my God. I'm going to hear this next outdoor season. You're going to flash back at some point during the next Pro Motocross season. And at some point, you're going to be like, do you remember Washougal 2025, Moto 1? Do you remember?
I don't know how you can't agree with that. Like,
I'm going to timestamp this for next season.
Is that not a softball? Like, I think that's fair to state that Jett was more on the ropes than he has been in his 450 motocross career.
Now that is fair because there isn't much to go.
Exactly.
Like,
the
sample sizing is very small for anybody even being able to compete against him. So, to your point, yes, but in the grand schemes of do I consider a rider on the ropes? Not much, but yes, you are right in this sense, but that's also because nobody can challenge him usually. So a blip like this is on the ropes for Jett compared to any other performance, yes, in 450 Pro Motocross.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was cool. I mean, let's be honest, as a whole, having Chase, Eli, and Jett and Hunter together in the early laps, like, it was a sick setup for a day of racing. Like, it was unreal.
It
was goosebump territory.
For 450s, it's been the best national of the year to watch. And it was, like, even though at the end of, we'll get to a little bit, even though, like, the end of the moto, last 2 or 3 laps, like, Eli's gap grew a bit. Like, to see them up to around the 20 to 25 minute mark that close together as a group, like, that's what every fan that goes to the race wants. They want to see Jett, Chase, Eli, Hunter out front, chasing each other, battling. Some people probably want to see Jorge there. That's just not happening. We'll get to that even more. But, yeah, Washougal gave... Maybe he didn't have some of the... I feel like with the way the season is going, beggars can't be choosers. Would I love to see some knockout, drag-out battling? Yes. Let's just start with getting all the guys in the same zip code and pushing each other. We'll start with that. I'll take that very happily and leave the weekend and hope for a little more down the road.
I felt like the riding from Chase and Jett was phenomenal, and I felt like I was watching something very special. And was there a tear? Yes. Was there multiple? Yes, I'm a man. Real men do cry. No, that was a joke. Just in case anyone takes that too far.
Are you sure? I think you almost made Jorge cry on Friday.
No, I almost made Chase cry as well. I was quite impressed, to be honest, because Chase literally said in the interview, "You're not going to make me cry." And then 5 minutes later, we were down a very emotional path. And that's just what I do.
Does that say something about the riders or you that you make men cry?
We are going to get into my interviews because between the Chase one and the Jorge one, I need to address the world because
on why you're making grown men try to make them cry.
I need to have my say because I feel like I'm being drugged into it too much.
Let me go get a soapbox really quick.
But no, great stuff. Honestly, 10 out of 10 all round. I felt like Chase rode great, Jett rode great, racing was great. It was exciting. Honestly, as you alluded to, I think some of the excitement was just injected from the fact that we haven't really seen this sort of excitement in 450s for quite some time. Because even when Jett was out last year, it just became Chase as the new Jett. Like, it didn't exactly improve the racing.
We had a handful of 1 or 2 races where we had the hunter stalking him, where it was like, and then...
But that's just very much how it was with Chase and Jett the year before. It was Chase stalking him, and you were like, it could happen any moment.
It could happen, but...
I'll tell you what I was surprised by was, in the first moto, I was very surprised by how much the crowd cheered when Jett crashed. That was a little bit like, oh, okay. And I was also very surprised that when they announced the rider for opening ceremonies, for those that haven't been to a national, when they start a parade lap, they let the top 5 in points go first and announce them in an opening ceremony style fashion. I never knew this happened until I attended an outdoor, so some people won't. When they announced Jett Lawrence, there was like audible boos. I was very surprised because I've not heard that before.
I didn't catch that.
I was over by I was in the, not the manager's tower, I was in the finish tower for the first moto, so I was kind of in the middle of the fans. I was very surprised.
The one that still stands out to me in opening ceremonies, of course, as the legacy gets there and we're near the end is, we could tease him all day for as little as Eli's active on social media and some of the core things people look at, like a Jett, a Hayden. They're very active in TikTok and Instagram and have built a huge following there. Eli's not that active. However, you go to a pro motocross race, they do the opening, anywhere near the podium, anywhere he's at on track, the audible sound that follows a Tomac around. Same with Plessinger, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Those two are mind-boggling for where they're at in the sport. Eli is, of course, to the tippy top, and Aaron's right behind that, but like, Eli's just not that socially active, and then Aaron is just off of his personality, but I'm always impressed. Actually, this is a little bit of a backtrack, but let me ask you if you agree with this. I think people are used to going to Supercross and, certain races getting that vibe, like Tampa with Malcolm was like that. I don't know if I've ever heard a national quite be like Millville with J-Mart, though.
No,
I've never quite heard
the
MXGP
audio vibe.
Yeah, I've never quite heard the audio follow somebody around the track like a cheering group quite like that. Because you get that in Supercross, but pro motocross, that's definitely a bit more rare.
You mentioned Eli. Let's move on to him, because I think we've covered the top 2 enough. It was a better weekend. I think that it's very subjective how each person would want to rate it. I was very surprised how positive he was, to be honest, because ultimately the win was there for the taking. And just with how Eli operates, I would have presumed that there would have been a part of him that was very much like, I wanted that win. It was there. But on the flip side of the coin, I honestly think he was so lost at Millville that to be back in the mix this weekend was such a relief that he'll take it. I don't think the goal this weekend was win. I think the goal was, let's just stabilize the situation, and for the love of God, let's not get worse.
Well, especially how the morning went. Like we talked, he did more bike changes this week. He ended up going from PSF1 to an LSF fork, which I think he ditched after first or second time practice because he showed back up for the first moto back on a full air fork. Tried to run scoop. I know we ran scoop all the way through first moto. I forgot to check the gate for second moto. So a bit of swings on his part. So I think that shows how we all view Millville poorly. I think that also shows how much he viewed Millville poorly, because on one hand, you could argue the gap at the very end of the moto was still aggressive, but especially if you look, it's like, okay, it happened in the last 2 or 3 laps. Like he was, as he says, in the zip code till the 22, 24 minute mark. He's within like a 5-second gap or 7 seconds or so. So I can see that. The tough one I have, though, coming out of it is, I mean, if you're a rider in that situation, you have to take any positive you can, build on it mentally, and just, trust your setup, trust your process, trust everything, and keep moving. But again, maybe not one of Jett's best rounds. Washougal's completely different soil. It's one that Eli performs well at. A round where he was one of the very few to run a scoop, which helped at the start. All the tangibles of that, does that carry? Like, I understand his point of having to maybe really lean into being happy with it, because I think you have to find a way to carry any positive you can from Washougal on. Especially going into a 2 or 3 week break, because if you exit Washougal still spun, the next 2 or 3 weeks could be really rough if you exit Washougal on a down note or a little bit of a spun out phase or question marks, or be like, oh, I was better, but I could have had it, and then maybe chase your tail too much the next couple weeks till we come back to racing.
I would have, if I had spoken to him after the race, I would have said, today was obviously great, but is this completely irrelevant? Is there anything from today that can carry over back to the regular tracks and the regular soil?
Yeah.
That would be my looming question. Like, I mean, some of it must be transferable, but it's clearly not apples to apples. I think that goes without saying. But interestingly, on press day, Eli did say that he said yes to Team USA on the Saturday of Millville, but after his Millville performance, he was questioning it because he only wants to go if he deserves it and he's performing well. Well, now that Millville was seemingly just a blip, I think that Eli is in.
Well,
and equally, I said to Chase, so last time we spoke about Team USA, and he cut me off and went, I'm in.
Yeah.
And equally, I said to Hayden, there's no wrist injury this year, there's none of that nonsense. How are we feeling? And he said, I can't remember his exact words, but to paraphrase, he basically said, it's in my plans. Yeah. So we're way off from the announcement, but Chase in MXGP, Hayden MX2, Eli Open, see you at Ironman.
I don't think we're that far off. Speaking of Ironman, I talked to them in the weekend, especially with Ironman being switched in the schedule and it being the destinations. I think we're announcing at Ironman.
Yeah, we
especially where we.
But that's still 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away.
But no racing in between. So I mean, dare I say the words? We stamp it right now, like you just said. That is Team USA.
No, that is
anything happening in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We don't have where the last couple of years we've entered after the break still with that weird MX, the open class has been a question mark, or the 250 class has been a question mark. It's kind of nice because I feel like USA has been on the back burner of team announcements for 4 or 5 years now, outside of when it's in the USA, which it is now. And again, we actually have a set team because other years I feel like, man, it's we're pushing it a week. Oh, we're pushing it a week.
Well, yeah, and to add to the concreteness of this, I asked Justin Cooper if he'd heard much about Team USA, and he said not really. So that really, he's the only one that could maybe put a cat amongst the pigeons. So that really tells us we're heading in the Chase, Hayden, Eli sort of direction, which is a great team. That's the team everyone would want. And
I'm trying to think back up. I mean, if something happens to anybody on the team, any position, is J. Coop just the backup no matter what, even though he hasn't been asked? If Chase went out, you would ask J. Coop. If Eli went out, you'd ask J. Coop. If Hayden went out, would you ask J. Coop to drop to a 250?
Who's 450-wise, definitely. Maybe 250-wise.
Because who else would we pick for 250? It's been consistent.
No one's been consistent.
I was going to say, Garrett's the most consistent. I love Garrett to death, but I'm not taking Garrett at his size to MX2 and Ironman. Just because it's so I feel like it's so start dependent.
No, it'd have to be Levi, which is a dangerous proposition in itself.
Yeah, we'll get to that. On home race didn't go well either.
Hunter has not horrid, that's too dramatic, but by his standards, a horrid track record at Washougal, and just said he was quite happy to get out of there with his top 5 streak intact. He still hasn't finished outside of the top 5 at a 450 round, which is very impressive. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, the Hondas, whatever generation, it just seems like when you get to the slick hard packs, both in starts and performance on track, that's not a weakness, but that's a little less of a strength, let's say. I think that's abundantly clear.
I think it's also partially the bike and then partially, we barely race rounds like this. So, also partially to the boys and to Honda and the development factor, even on the race package is, hey, don't focus on this stuff. We focus on the majority, not the minority of what they race on.
But that second moto start, cool. Even Chase said that he almost let out a gasp. He was next to Hunter. He said that he went over the gate and almost let out a gasp because he was so impressed at the jump and the drive that Hunter had. And where did that jump and drive come from? Say it all together now. Yoshimura.
Yoshimura.
Hey, it's like a children's TV show.
Do the letters pop up on the screen with little fireworks that come off of it?
Time and time again, we tell you about the Yoshimura power. And let me tell you, do I know if Yoshimura will be on this podcast next year? No, I don't. But let me tell you, there will be some brilliant ad reads for Yoshimura if they're involved in any podcast that I do next year. I can't tell you any more, but I'm ready. I'm already in 2026 prep for Yoshimura, and I hope they are too, because 2026, big year. Big year. And every year's a big year for Yoshimura, of course, and that's a credit to the continuous steps forward they make in power and performance. You see these starts from the Lawrence brothers and Hymas and Shimoda now, and they don't go away over time, they just improve over time. That's the sort of reliability, performance, and exceptional attention to detail that you would want from a performance part on your motorcycle. Yoshimura-rd.com to see what they have to offer for you.
Sign me up to when you start adding Jeffrey Hurlings to those reads in 2026.
Well, I think you're far off. RJ was great again. RJ, honestly, I feel bad because I think we should have thrown RJ into the Team USA discussion bench racing more. Because honestly, if you want to talk about J. Coop and AP, you kind of need to talk about RJ as well. Like, he's become that good. He deserves more credit. Poor RJ.
Well, the biggest thing I've said about this year, I hate to say this is not a slam. This is the nicest thing I think I can say is I have not seen an RJ moment, I think, all summer. I'm used to 3 or 4 times a race closing my eyes, and RJ just looks so in control. I mean, I'm very excited because I feel like there's 2 riders in this conversation that fit this bill. You know, RJ and Jordan Smith forever. Do they move up? Do they not? Jordan going to a 450 likely as well next year. If it produces somewhat similar results, or at least a similar direction, I want to use both of them as poster boys to some people and go, look, just move up. It will be okay. It will be okay, I promise. Just move up.
Just call me Mr. Pitbits, because little techie for you. RJ tested the WP Factory Air Fork on press day and liked it, so raced with it on Saturday as well. And hasn't ridden with
so
that
instead of the production Air Fork, he went to the...
Just call me Mr. Pitbits.
That's weird, because the GP one's like basically never been here the last couple of years. It's always just been the guys racing on the production one.
Yeah, maybe it's
a production-based one.
Maybe it's a sign of the times and a sign of some better stuff being out there, I guess. I don't know. Just call me Mr. Pitbits.
Mr. Pitbits. Would you like my job, Lewis?
Just call me Mr. Pitbits.
No, I don't think I will, but nice try.
Okay, just call me Mr. Chase Sexton interview.
I'm going to start calling you Mr. Bean after the fucking rental car we had this weekend.
That was a solid performer, I felt. No, but RJ really does deserve credit. Like, I do feel like he is being criminally underrated, and everyone is very quick to run to his faults, but actually, he's been very, very good. I just randomly found some notes I made from Saturday about Jett and Chase. So I figured I'd just quickly run through.
We got to circle back. He needs to break up the Sexton flag for a little while.
Because I just remembered. I have no idea what Jett did on lap 12 of the second moto, but he found seconds. It was a phenomenal lap time. I don't think it was his fastest because the track had gone away by that point, but it was his fastest. The 2 laps before, he did a 2:14.5, then a 2:15.6, then a 2:13.9. And then the next lap was a 2:16.8. Ultimately, that was where he broke Chase, because the lap before, he did a 2:15.6 and Chase did a 2:14.6. So I'd imagine that lap 12 was a reaction to like, shit, I better not let Chase gain again. And then also, I think the theory amongst JS7, the TV crew and stuff, has been that Jett rides with much more urgency when it's Chase behind him or Eli versus others. And I'm going to dive into that this week because I really want to see if there's a way to mark there being more urgency from Jett early in the motos this weekend. One thing I do have is I was watching in the manager's tower in the second moto, and on the first lap, Jett's mechanic put on the pit board in massive letters, "No rest." And I thought to myself, that's interesting for lap 1. And then I was like, I wonder if that's a signal of like the guys you fear are behind you. Don't know. This just came into my notes. For some reason, I have lap 9 of the second moto written down. Don't know why. Something must have happened.
To answer your original question, I would think the easiest way to see the urgency is probably trace more the gap to like 4th or 5th. See how quickly he builds the gap beyond first and second, or be on second and third, who's closest to him, is see how much he builds a gap on 4th and 5th.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's a metric because the riders change.
It does, but I think, 4th, depending on who it is, it's still at least of a similar caliber. I think that's how you could tell, because the gap to second or third, like we feel like if it's, let's say, Aaron in second, I don't feel like Jett has that much urgency. He's not going to build a gap. If it's Chase, he's pushing, or if it's Eli, he's pushing as they're chasing him. So that gap to those guys is always going to be, it's not like that gap in the top two, like mattering on who it is, it's not going to change. The urgency would be seeing like beyond who is directly chasing him, how big the gap grows. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I guess, I don't know. I need to sit down with a pen and bit of paper. I'm lost. My note, the only other note I have is I wrote down, bearing in mind I'm writing ridiculous things just to jog my memory. I wrote down lap 9 of the second moto, and I've just looked and now I've jogged my memory. On lap 8, Jett did a 2:15.3 and Chase did a 2:15.6. Then on lap 9, Jett did a 2:14.5 and Chase did a 2:14.6. They both just randomly found a second and went with each other, which I love that shit. Like when you can see when there's like concrete evidence of the toe-to-toe element of a battle, I love that. Like because that says a lot to me about like, oh, we are going at this from both sides. Like that's good. I like that. And this little Lewis's notes corner. You know what? That should be a fucking feature. Lewis's notebook. They do it in F1. Ted won't mind.
Notebook.
Ted will be fine.
Ted will be fine.
I just don't know when I'll do it, when I'd have time. Because I've started doing this for every round. And I stand in pit lane now because I read the pit boards, because as everyone who followed me in GP days knows, I literally cannot watch a race now without being able to read the pit boards every lap. Because I like it, because I can read the psyche of what's going on. Put a pin in that. I might try and figure out what...
Just start scribbling across the whole page so you can just take a screenshot of the page and post it.
No, I think I want to do like a production. I don't know. I'm spending 31 minutes talking to Chase.
We need production value.
I'm spending 31 minutes talking to Chase, so I don't really have much time, which is an issue. I'm also talking to Prado, and it's that time.
For 90 minutes.
So
it would have been longer if I hadn't told you we needed the rental car.
So everyone, I feel like it's safe to say everyone has now seen the Prado interview from press day. I couldn't make it all the way through my rewatch because it didn't make me feel very comfortable, unfortunately.
Was this before or after you realized he might be about to cry?
I don't think that he was as pissed off with me as everyone else suspects.
I think he's just pissed off in general.
I think that he's comfortable with me. I think I'm the only journalist he's comfortable with. So the facade maybe drops a little bit with me, and I think there you saw some raw emotion, and he wasn't afraid to just kind of be like normal, or like, you know, like I think a bit too much normality slipped out.
Can we take the top 5 quotes from the interview? My favorite is I'm not lost, everyone around me is.
I think that actually what he said is irrelevant. I think the things that he didn't say is where the damage was done. Like when I said, so is the bike faster now? And he just looked at me and shrugged. Like that, you know, like the silence is deafening at that point. So to be clear to everyone who says that he hates me, I went and spoke to him afterwards, mainly just to like see myself. And I sat with him for 90 minutes. He told me a lot. I told him a lot. And it was an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah, I showed up at the part where he jumped in the chemical water. Is that Indonesia?
You know we're getting very deep and emotional when we got done talking about Kawasaki and his gas and settings and everything, and we were just reminiscing about memories, which is we were just being sad at that point.
Where was the chemical water thing? Was that Indonesia where he showed you the water and he's like, "It's amazing, I'm not dead."
In Pangkal Penang, which is the very first Indonesian MXGP track, there was a crystal clear lake, like an hour from the hotels. I think they said it's salt water or salt lakes. And everyone, I never went because I was too scared to leave my hotel in Indonesia. I didn't want to die. But a lot of the riders and teams went there, and most people swam in it because it was like crystal clear. Like it's like I can't think of what the word for it is.
Like a hot spring, because isn't the water warm because of the chemicals and stuff or something? He said the water was really warm.
Well, he said that afterwards. They Googled it and the water was heavily toxic and it wasn't natural, which surprised me because I always presumed it was natural water, and that was why it was so like exciting and stuff. And to be honest, Pankau Penang, not exactly the most developed place in the world. If I had the resources to do that, I personally would put it into other things, like maybe tightening up the electronics or the phone lines, which are just hanging down in the middle of roads. Maybe investing in a GameStop, because this was 2017 and their game store was selling brand new PS1 consoles and there was no PS2 in sight, let alone a PS3, PS4, not a PS5 at that point. So personally, I would have invested my time and effort elsewhere, but to each their own.
My still favorite was his motion of why he said he would die, because he came in the water, the whole like spraying the water out of his mouth motion. I was kind of...
If you want to know what we're talking about, or what me and Jorge was talking about, search Kaolin Lake Pankau Penang, or Bangka Batanakal Garden.
Maybe you could throw a link in the description.
No, we can't be bothered.
for
That's
people.
too much work.
No,
I'm
can't be
tired.
bothered.
No, find it
Okay.
yourself. Like my Twitter with the Chase interview this morning. Find it yourself.
I thought this could be part of Lewis's notebook, but never mind.
No, but I would like to do. I should do. Honestly, there's a lot I should do, but I should do like some sort of travel series with hey Prado, tell me about your top 3 travel moments from MXGP. Hey, retired rider, tell me about your top 3 memories. Because that would be fucking golden.
Is this still you coming back to being bummed that you didn't become a travel blogger
No,
when you first started MXGP?
There's untapped potential. We're not doing enough. There's untapped potential, and I need to figure this out.
For anybody wondering, Lewis is second-guessing his career decisions, realizing that he should become a travel blogger on TikTok or Instagram when he started MXGP.
It was always going to be a side hustle, but I genuinely believe if I had started like doing TikTok, like the things we saw in Indonesia, if I had been like heavily on TikTok and stuff, I feel like I'd be doing a internet personality at this point.
Back to Prado.
Oh yeah.
My second favorite comment has nothing to do with the bike. He said if you would have become a travel blogger, he thinks you would be as big as Mr. Beast right now.
Yeah, he likes Lewis. He supports Lewis.
I don't know what's more blasphemous at this point.
He likes Lewis. No, but so the interview, I genuinely we are fine. I know we're fine because it was a very emotional discussion.
It's fine. It's fine.
Honestly, is the interview shocking at this point? We've seen it all before. Like, are the results shocking at Washougal? We've seen it all before. Like I said about the Eli-Jorge comparison last week, Eli was more surprising to me because it was unexpected. At this point, you could tell me Prado finishes anywhere between 4th and 30th, and I'm kind of like, okay, that's his range. Where I'm at now is I feel like I've had so many conflicting reports from different sides that I almost feel uncomfortable to talk about it. But what I do feel unconflicted about is everyone needs to get on the same page. I don't know how you do that. One very smart person suggested to me that in the break, they should put Prado on a stock KX 450, tell him to ride that for a couple of days, understand the fundamentals of the motorcycle again, and then rebuild. Just basically hit factory reset. And honestly, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Yeah. I almost feel like you need to hit factory reset on the relationship as well. I don't know how you do that. It kind of reminds me of the Rocks and RCH his second year. He did that off season. He went and rode a stock bike in Germany at home for 2 weeks, basically came back, and they started with a stock platform, understanding his wants and building around him. Because at least then, I guess, one part of it would be from the rider's perspective is you see from base on where the work has gone, what's different, what isn't. So I've actually really worked hard on this Prado situation over the last couple of weeks, and I've messaged pretty much every rider I could think of that has been in a situation somewhat similar. And one rider messaged me this morning and said, everyone's missing a very clear part of this picture. Marvin was basically a KTM lifer, never left. Hurlings has not left. When have we ever seen a KTM lifer leave and succeed? And I can't come up with one. Roxon obviously started on a Suzuki and spent his entire amateur career on a Suzuki. So therefore, if everyone, Jeffrey were to leave KTM next year, I think that would be very telling and reflect on this year for Prado in one way or another, because we don't have a comparison of a rider. Vial next year, it would be another good one, although 250 to 450, maybe there's a few semantics there. It's something that I at least hadn't thought of like, okay, maybe if you spend your entire life from the moment you're on a 50 on a KTM, it is just a whirlwind to get used to a Japanese bike. I wouldn't know what Rattray rode in South Africa growing up, but yeah, going back to the start of his professional career for sure.
Langston.
Yeah, but are we not in the weeds at that point because we're talking about?
The only thing that kind of it's
that wasn't
interesting
KTM, was it? Really,
from what we do on the media side from testing, like me, Kiefer, Tokarski, all this joke about this in talking about production bikes jumping around. We all kind of have a very similar opinion here. In our opinion, it is easier to go from an Austrian bike to a Japanese bike than it is to go from a Japanese bike to an Austrian bike. So it is funny hearing that comparison because I get your point of like, hey, you don't see this very often, a KTM Life or move on. My initial gut reaction is, so what? Every time I get off an Austrian bike, it's very easy to adapt to a Japanese bike, in my opinion, and most of the people that's also. But that's very different than racing one for years. It's different. Yeah. It is, but that's just my gut reaction is, I'm like, I think it's the opposite. But none of us have been in that situation, so.
Okay. There you go. So, additionally, I actually didn't reach out to this person. So I got a text yesterday that says, I wanted to make an anonymous comment on the Prado and Cowie situation. I'm fucking worth my weight in gold at this point as a journalist. Just put me on CNN as like a beat reporter. It's long.
I don't know if I'd want to be a part of CNN.
I can't think of another. Put me on the BBC.
The BBC.
I have no doubt that the bike is a problem, and I know what it's like for nobody to understand or believe you as a rider. Having said that, one thing that I find doesn't add up in Prado's interviews and comments is the fact that he says he's just cruising around out there, and then he gets to the end of the moto and isn't even tired. In my experience, I have never been as tired as I was when I was riding the Cowie because I had to compensate so much for the bike and try so damn hard to make the bike work that I was completely exhausted by the end of the moto, and most of the time so tired after Moto 1 that I knew going to the line for Moto 2 that I had nothing left in the tank. Now, you could say that I wasn't as fit as Prado or whatever you want, but that's to my point even more. If he is fitter than I was, then he should be able to compensate better than I did. But either way, if the bike is a problem, then you would be absolutely exhausted at the end of each moto because you have to give it everything to make that thing work. Just my 2 cents coming from someone who struggled with that green machine.
I know who you're talking about.
Well, we're not playing, it's anonymous.
We're not playing that part. But no, so that kind of fits. When I spoke to him at Southwick after the race, I said to him like, hey, you looked more comfortable. You look this. But I did pose. I said, is that the bike or the condition? And he said the conditions because he's more familiar with Sam. But he did say that. He said, if I went any slower than I was going, I got more tired. That's the only round he has said that where he said, if I go any slower, it wears me out more. I might as well at least try because it's easier for me to be like this than to just ride around because it's so tiring. But then every other round, yes, we have just rode around. And it does make sense. You watch him even at Washougal, to what you're saying is the stop and go motions, the getting hung up in corners, that stuff is not easy on the body. It's easier to at least have some level of flow.
So then, again, very much on this, I went and stood by the Cowie rig after the second moto because I wanted to see with my own eyes how tired Prado was. This was before this message, but just there's been so much talk about him being out of shape. I was like, let's see the sweat, let's see him heaving. And I thought he looked relatively okay. Like I didn't look at him and go, there's a man who's absolutely exhausted. But then again, Washougal, different set of circumstances.
But I think that also could play into a part of how bad we're talking about he is rolling around. So then to the example, though, to what you're saying about the rider, I mentioned that to you. I think of that if you're, your delta of what really, like, if you push, say this is your 100%, if you push there, have a flow, it's not as tiring. It's maybe your 90% push is where you'd be tired because the bike's uncomfortable, you can't flow on it, you kind of back off a little bit, you get notchy. I would argue then what you see of Prado at a Melville Secamo, what you saw Washougal is 60%. Yes, he's not tired because he's cruising so much. When you see somebody drop 7 seconds, they get 7 seconds, 8 seconds a lap worse. Go to your local track, set your best lap time, go 90%, be a second off that, see what that looks like, and then just ride around and be 9 seconds a lap slower. You don't really get tired at 9 seconds a lap slower.
This is the Lewis Phillips official statement on the Jorge Prado situation. Jorge Prado is 100% without doubt a better rider than this, and there is simply no arguing that. In addition, the factory Kawasaki team and bike is without doubt a better bike than this, and there is simply no arguing that. Both sides clearly must take some blame to some degree, and I think that starting from scratch is probably the best way to go at this point. I just don't know how you do that with the relationship. I also, watching the pit board in the manager's tower, I noticed that Prado's mechanic was very motivational with Prado, telling him that he can catch John Shaw and it's possible. And Hand's next. Jeremy Hand is next. And I was looking at that and I was thinking to myself, if I'm Prado, I'm snapping that pit board over his head, because I'm thinking to myself, you really think this is like a race that I'm in or care about? Like, clearly this is fucked. Like, like that would wind me up. Like, what do you mean Hand's next? That's just another thing that I noticed. I was
we also talked about this a bit. I think one thing that's going to really, in a sense, I feel like is going to bite him and is biting him when you walk around and talk to certain people on the team, like people I've seen in passing, and the shit they say is like, they know he's cruising around. They like, are things going great right now? No, we all know that. However, and while you've got on one hand, Prado maybe personally doesn't feel or believe the team has done enough or doesn't see enough change, you also have everybody on the team accounting for, we are busting our balls. We are trying more stuff than we've ever tried before. We are, when you have your main mechanics, all these guys staying out of club and to their admission, club is nice, but the little town near it is an absolute shithole. Staying in hotels, I think you're going to die. And like all these guys being away from the family and busting their butt, and your rider goes out and does that. Yeah, sorry, they're going to put stuff like that on the pit board. Like, come on, do something. Like, it's like, what's the meme of the little stick figure guy with the stick poking the thing on the ground? Like, please do something.
Yeah.
I get it when you're a 2-time MXGP, 4-time world champion in total. Like, there's a certain point of like, I'm better than this. I need to be respected, blah, blah, blah. I get that. In the same breath, if you keep just being that kind of attitude and the rolling around and what the rest of the team feels like is not trying. Yeah, this goes on to other motorsports. Like, there are people that are known for, take like an F1 where Michael Schumacher was known for some pretty aggressive moves on track, some pretty, at times, dirty tactics. Him and Senna both have like kind of some dark history to their moves and the ways they've dealt with stuff. However, they're both known, particularly Schumacher's known as somebody who would be in the garage late with the team, somebody who is very motivational to his team, and that's why the people would work and die for him in a sense. Prado's not creating that culture for himself, and that's going to really hurt that team. Like, if I get it, things aren't going well, but it's also partially on him to try to create that culture. So to just...
I think that's a culture clash, though, between American and Euro.
I just said, I'm quoting Euro. Like, we're talking about other motorsports where Euros create that.
Yeah, but that's
culture.
Euro and Euro.
It's not that hard, though. Still motivation. What, like, all this stuff that's come out from Prado, give me something. Give me tangible evidence of him doing something to create culture there.
Well, I don't know. I need to be a fly on the wall.
All we have is instances of him doing the exact opposite.
I don't know. It's sad. It's sad what it's become for all sides.
But it's sad, but like, okay, we're down to the nitty and gritty, that dark point I'm pointing out right now. Like, look, I get it from the team standpoint. Like, a lot of this, it's not...
I just can see... Okay, the try-hard thing is whatever. Like, that's separate. But I know Max has told me many, many, many stories where he's pulled in and gone, this bike's fucking shit, blah, blah, blah. Like, but not... No, sorry, that sounded too aggressive. Like, pulled in, taken his helmet off and gone, oh, yeah, no, how the forks? Yeah, they're fucking shit. It feels fucking terrible. Fuck me. And then he's had to send an apology to someone later. But... he didn't mean it to come across that way. It was just like the Euro way of expression. Yeah. So I know there are instances of that exist. And I could see that coming up at times of like the bluntness and, that being an issue. I can't believe he said that.
The bluntness is it's its own thing. And I get that that's going to be a culture difference. But like I said, there's beyond that. You could be aggressive in the way you speak. You can be blunt, but you can also back it up by showing those guys you're willing to try when they are. There is culture difference. Like, you can create culture within the team. And I'm going to say culture like, oh, there's differences in the way you deal with each other. You know what I mean by culture. Like, in this sense, I'm saying create a team atmosphere. Show them that you're all in as much as they're all in. because, well, I know in his head, I am one of the world's best. I can do this. I'm all in. Like, I'm putting in my effort. But some of the actions and the way he is doing stuff is not showing that to everybody. And as you've probably gotten well aware, like, you walk around, like, it's definitely not across that team, all kinds of different positions. It's not coming across well.
When you just call it super nanny.
You've got the test rider who's 4 seconds a lap faster during the week, and they're asking him to just push during the week to see some lap, like, to understand things, and he just said, "That's how I am." And they'd rather almost bring the test rider racing at this point.
I feel like but genuinely, I feel bad for Prado, and I equally feel bad for Kawasaki. Like that whole speech seemed almost anti-Prado, and I feel bad for Prado also, though.
I do, but like I said, I agree with you. I feel bad for both, but I'm telling you, I think I agree with your
like also
point of the team needs to start from scratch. And while you say that's on both ends, I think that's more the team's end is starting a bit from scratch. But I'm also labeling, hey, Prado's big hand to play in this is how he develops the culture at that team he's in. If he just kind of comes in and expects them all to fix everything and be able to say however he wants and act however he wants, that's on him. Like, that's something that he needs to personally work on. The team, it doesn't need to just be like, bow, 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 take whatever's fed to them. They don't need to be like that. People aren't going to work. This sport's hard. And the mechanics and the suspension techs and the engine guys and all those guys don't get the limelight that the rider does. They don't get the money that the rider does. They don't get all those things. So if they're also getting shit on, why the fuck are they going to be there?
I don't know. This is the only other information I have. Prado never tested the bike outdoors USA spec-wise.
2 days on Supercross.
But I forgot about this. In 2023, May, he rode the MXGP Kawasaki at Greuvenbroich, which is a sandy track, not really comparable to American track. Because before the USA was even a thing, like at that point, he was still MXGP career.
Yeah.
He was thinking about going to Ice 1. So he has ridden a Kawasaki outdoors, just a different bike completely.
His feedback wasn't great on that, though, was it?
That was ages ago.
I don't remember it being it. But either way, this comes in a tangent me and you were talking about is it is funny how many U.S. Supercross, of course, has weighed so much, how many top riders test the bike on Supercross and actually never touch it outdoors. The first tech and testing podcast that me and Stevie did, he was part of Eli's test to re-up with Yamaha for 22 and on. And this still comes back to where Eli talks about barely riding this generation bike outdoors. He never even tested this bike outdoors before he signed the contract. He tested it on Supercross and was like, we're good to go. Jorge's an example. I think Roxon's done that. We can almost bet that Chase has done the same thing in both his situations right now, like going forward, and his prior one, probably the same thing, rode it on Supercross. Kind of interesting.
I don't like it from either side. I think I just want mummy and daddy to get along. And
Mummy and daddy are getting a divorce.
I don't want to be a child from a broken family. And that's what I feel like is happening right now.
You feel like a child from a broken family?
Yeah,
Jesus.
I just want them to get together. I want them to make up, and I don't know how to make them like each other again. And
cue the music.
No,
we be friends?
It's difficult. There's so many elements to this. There's so many layers to this that it's impossible to unpack. And you could take either side because ultimately both sides need to figure it out. And whether one side is 100% right or not, if the side that's 100% right is 100% right, they're still going to have to give a little to bring the other side back on board. So I don't know. I think that as far as outdoors is a wash, Prado did seem quite excited for SMX. And I think he believes that he can do something there. So see you in Charlotte is kind of where we're at. Finally on 450s. Actually, no, finally on Prado. He did tell me
here a little while.
Very excited about his Fox gear. And I asked him, where did the pink come from? Because he's a very pink rider. He's almost like a Pink Panther. And he said to me, well, remember in GPs, like I always had pink accents on my boot, pink pink.
On his goggles.
Accents on my helmet and goggles and whatnot. And accents. Why couldn't I say accents? It's a pink before it. Pink accents. There we go. And he said when he signed with Fox, he told them, I want to be a pink guy. So that's where it came from. And Fox, of course, with all of the brilliant resources, design capabilities, all of that they have going on, were more than happy to accommodate and give him some very special looks. With a rich heritage and deep racing DNA, Fox Racing has been at the forefront of motocross for 50 years. They empower the world's best athletes like Jorge Prado, Ken Roczen, Levi Kitchen and Joe Shimoda to chase their dreams. With their gear, dreamers become champions. They honour the past while inventing tomorrow, pushing the limits of racewear and protection. Because at Fox, change is the only constant. I'll tell you what I just thought, and I don't know if this would be relevant. The only rider who maybe could offer some insight is Tommy Searle, because he went from KTM to Kawasaki to Kawasaki to KTM to Kawasaki to KTM to Kawasaki. So he only spent his life on 2 bikes. So maybe there's something there. Although I feel like it's more of a recent gen issue, isn't it? But maybe, I don't know. Like I said, at this point, I'm reaching out deep into my phone book just for anything that I can latch onto, because we are all struggling with this one. Finally, on 450s, Anton Nordstrom is okay. He was the reason for the red flag in the second moto, and it seems like he is okay. Nothing to worry about. All is good.
It was not Jeremy Hand flying into the crowd. Contrary to conspiracy theorists on Instagram that said that's why they wouldn't show it on the replay, Jeremy Hands was like last lap or next to last lap when he flew into the crowd. Anton Nordstrom was knocked out for like 2 minutes at the beginning of the race. That's why we red flagged. Speaking of red flag, what did we think of the restart procedure?
It's fine. It looks janky.
I don't like it.
It's
mostly
fine.
because I don't visually like it. I get the point. I don't visually love it. Nothing against Sean Starling. I think he did a good job. But, like, it's like, yep, this is dirt bike racing.
There's no alternative, though.
What is funny, though, to that mission is how many people heard after the race. I guess this rule got added this year, and, like, all the teams were warned, but how few people actually had a clue that that was how it was going to work when they got to the line, that was going to be the restart procedure. Because I also thought, I didn't realize they had also a mission. I didn't realize they changed the rule, because when somebody said to me, I think they're going to do some sort of a single file, I'm like, we're only a couple laps in. I think we would do a full-fledged restart. And come to realize we do that now.
It was fine. We don't have an alternative, do we? We really don't. So, on to the 250s, where Joe Shimoda is really underlining his early season brilliance and effectively will finish second in this championship. Congrats to Joe. He's riding really, really well. And I think it almost makes you wonder, where would Joe be if it just stayed on Kawasaki? Because the transition to Honda took so much longer than anyone imagined. Yeah. And we finally got him back to this point. But it almost wasted a year and a half in just adapting. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, a little bit? Like, maybe we do look down on Joe a little bit too much because of the time it took to adapt, and realistically, none of us really believed it would take that long.
Well, I think a lot of people lost belief. There was, the running joke about the Shimoda non-believers, because, even before that, though, his career's just always been kind of these, hey, we know Joe can get it done. There's these highlights. They're typically at the end of a Supercross or the end of an outdoor season. It takes him all year to kind of get going, and then you get a blip of what he's capable of. And then we hit the next year, regardless of changing teams or not. It was always kind of like a reset. We had to wait for Joe to build steam. This pro motocross season is definitely different in the fact that, hey, we were there from the beginning. We had a little bit of a lull in the middle, but here we are again.
Yeah, do you think Joe has stepped up since the beginning of the year, or has Hayden gone down a level or backed it off, or whatever you want to say?
One tough one there is, as we've seen historically, is Hayden's actually not been the best across the later part of a pro motocross season. He's been like how his championship went last year. He's very strong on the opening 5 rounds to 6 rounds, and then the later half of the season he tapers a little bit. So one could say, par for the course. However, when I say that, Hayden is better this year in the later portion than he was last year so far.
He's actually identical.
Still, is he identical with 2-1s again?
5-1-2 is identical,
okay.
Except this time it was 5-1-2. Last year it was 5-2-1.
How about his actual moto score, so to do it? Anyways, semantics. I don't know. A little bit about I think this is just par for the course, but Hayden is dealing with a banged up leg. I think Joe has circled back to where he was the opening rounds. Like Joe is really, really good at the moment. I would say a little bit that Joe has stepped up.
Yeah, because I think you're seeing the gap to the rest hasn't really closed up. And if it was Hayden falling back, you'd see the rest also a little more in the frame.
I think, the two of them are the class of the field, per se, at the moment, which is still, man, it is. I'm a little lost almost on everybody else. Well, Tom was out. Levi's, I don't know where Levi is anymore. I don't know if the chef has not found his way back to the kitchen in a while.
I heard there was a rat infestation and the health department shut down the kitchen.
Margot, because we've had these random blips, like all of a sudden you have a Schwartz up there. Jalik's been amazing on the starts. Sadly, Jalik took that dirt nap. But also, I mean, we're missing Hymus. Seth is dealing with some issues. So some of that also, is the gap, because the gap has grown, does that also show that everybody below them that should be competitive is missing or hurt, with that whole field go forward? But I do stand behind, I think Joe has improved the last couple rounds. And it does make me hope. He says he hasn't made a decision. I kind of hope he doesn't go back to PC because I don't want another reset.
Yes, I think everyone can agree on that. I asked Hayden on press day about the theory that the fans have that he should race a 450 at the last round. I merely asked him, expecting him to shoot it down so that then we could factually say this isn't going to happen. He really didn't do that. He kind of was like, well, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, no, the team are building me a race 450 for the break, so I'm going to start riding it. And I was like, oh, okay. Kind of made me go, maybe there's something there a little bit.
Might as well.
Well, equally, why not race a 125 in a 250 class? If he wants vlog numbers.
It's not vlog number. The 450 is tangible for the future of his career. Go race it, see how the base setup feels come race time.
Well, thank you for trying to make me look like an idiot when I was moving into the Yamaha ad read, because with so many options available in Yamaha's catalog, he could either swap the 250 for a 450, move into 450 MX, or race a 125 in a 250 MX class.
Why is he going to go race EMX? Is he going to go race EMX 125?
You shit talk. Caroli did it. No, Caroli did a 252 stroke. Roxon did it.
Roxon did it, yes.
So don't.
But Roxon was also coming to the US full time to continue to race at 250.
Was he coming to the US to race full time on a 125?
No, on a 250.
No, but that's kind of the point you're making. Anyway, really ruining the Yamaha read. Point being, Hayden could do a multitude of things because Yamaha would enable him to do that. If he wants to race a PW50, he can do that also, although I'm sure that my co-host will find issues with that concept as well.
I don't know, age class, is he going to really fake it?
But Yamaha, a lot going on there. And as we said, it looks like Team USA is going to be very blue once again because Yamaha is around and invested in all sorts of racing, no matter what it is. So thank you to Yamaha for their support of this podcast. Marchbank's finally got an outdoor podium, and honestly, his starts weren't as bad. I think he was helped by the harder dirt. I think that goes without saying. It must be a relief. And now he's sole possession of third in the championship, and it's getting to the point where, once again, I'm looking at this going, can you really let your top performer go? Because yes, you can say Hammaker was a top performer in Supercross, but if you look at the SMX standings, Garrett is clearly the best Kawasaki rider. I find that quite interesting. I would imagine Kawasaki thought, we'll put Garrett on a 1-year contract, he'll do so-so, and then we'll just say, it's not working out. I'd imagine they weren't expecting this scenario.
Yeah, I think the situation they were in is, in Mitch's case, they signed him at a point in Supercross last year where they weren't getting a lot of yeses because they'd gone after Pierce, Brown, and someone else, and it hadn't worked out. Then more stuff fell in their, I wouldn't say fell in their lap a little bit, but we end up with Ty with a good outdoor season the prior year, so they signed him. Drew ended up locking down his pro deal, so then it was like, okay, Garrett's stuck. And it was always like Garrett, the narrative was, yeah, everybody here kind of has more of a future, but if Garrett performs, he could stay. And I think we can all confidently say, I think he has outperformed
easily
that margin, even what we would consider performing. Like what I would have said is, okay, Garrett needs to do X to stay. He has gone above that. And from what I've heard of mission-wise, like Mitch believes that. The team is very happy with him. Garrett loves it there. I have heard rumors about other people approaching him lately of the factory caliber. But like he said I didn't catch it because over the crowd it's hard to hear. But on the podium, he basically said, like, I love this team. I want to stay. I hope I get, like, he said something along those lines, like, I hope I'm staying. He wants to be there. I've just heard it's a holdup on Kawasaki's end, I guess, just because, again, all your pro circuit riders are contracted technically to Kawasaki. So they're still working that out. But yes, you look at this on paper and it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. We've joked about this earlier this season, but the conversation's gone. Like, Ty is not staying. Ty is not part of this conversation. The only thing that must still be holding it up is the Joe thing. Which, if it is, Joe, please just sign at Honda. Let Garrett stay at PC. Let's quit holding this up.
It'll be interesting if Joe did go back to PC, if it takes time to adapt again, or because he's been there before, it's quicker.
It's a new platform though since he left. So that's why I say, like, I joked earlier, like, I hope he just stays. Like, please, let's just stay put.
I think he's staying. I'd be very surprised at this point. All signs indicate that he's staying. I mean,
it does, but it's shocking when he's asked that he's like, no, I still don't have anything done. He doesn't really hint at it.
Joe's
but I don't know
like
if that's
scared to say stuff, isn't he?
Yeah, because there's been times in the past where I've hit him with something directly, and he kind of like eyes gets all big, and maybe it's a little bit of the culture difference, and also a little bit of the language barrier sometimes with him that I think he dances around stuff almost a little too much.
I forget. I should have re-listened to this as well to share on this podcast. But Hammaker said in a press day interview that he's racing with a fractured fib?
Tibia plateau.
Oh, okay.
Tibia
I had a
plateau,
50-50
tibia
shot.
plateau.
I think fib,
whichever
but maybe
one combines
tib.
under your knee.
Which, yeah, full credit to him then to get a season best result of 4th. And honestly, he looked good once again. Like, I did say to him, is there pressure to just keep going just to prove you can run the course? And he said, yeah, I kind of feel like I need to prove it to the team and myself that I can show up every single week. He missed Thunder Valley, of course, but you're allowed one throwaway. But yeah, very impressed with what he's doing, especially considering the magnitude of the injuries. And Faulkner, as I said last week, I really feel like Faulkner is proving me right a little bit, because I was trying to be positive about Faulkner in his dullest days, and here we are. I'd imagine that he also benefited from the hard-packed soil and all that Washougal has to offer. I can imagine that working for Faulkner. But similar to every single other week, there were late passes. Like, he just can do that, whether he's battling for 20th or 5th, which is quite impressive. So there was all that talk of Triumph letting Faulkner go. Should they keep him? And I think this is a valuable lesson, not just for those involved in that situation, but in the sport at large, that it can take time, but it can come good eventually. Like, at this point, maybe Faulkner can get a podium in a moto or an overall, which would be phenomenal considering where he started.
I'm just impressed to see multiple weeks, a bit like the swing he made last week, and like completely obtainable for him. But to see him, it would have been, in my opinion, coming into Washougal a win just to sort of back up that level of result. But to take an equal swing another week in a row is definitely very confidence inspiring in his situation.
I have nothing to say about Dylan Schwartz other than well done. He is really proving something, and it's thoroughly impressive, and a tip of the hat to Dylan Schwartz, who is also, let's see if this one goes better, able to make use of Yamaha's base platform and perform at the highest level, something that obviously helps him in his charge quite significantly. Anything on Dylan Schwartz? No? Okay.
No, I mean, just saying, it is interesting as it circles back with him. People are talking a little bit like, because there's going to be, there's the conversation of the spot at KTM with Vial leaving, which has leaned towards Manir, but then you look at this case, and it's like, well, here's another opportunity. Could somebody finally take that Sean Schwartz? Because it's been years. Like, Schwartz had, this level of result at the end of, was it 21 or 22 at Hangtown on the Bar X Suzuki?
I wanted to say 21, but
I think it was 21, because I think I was there with mine. Yeah, it was 21 as far as I remember.
Yeah, because Hangtown was only at the end in 21.
Yes, and his Fox was really good. So, I mean, it's been there for a little bit, but it's circling back around. I mean, last year I know he raced with like an insanely effed up wrist most of the season. He falls in that conversation. There's a potential for 250 a Triumph. There's things where it's like, okay, does somebody finally take a shot on him, or does it just keep on keeping on? We stay at Bar X.
Harrop was a little off all day, and I felt like it was obvious that Washougal was taking him some time to get adjusted to, and he agreed with that. He said the shadows, though, weren't a big deal, and he doesn't know why people talk about them. And then in contrast, Hunter Lawrence, who has raced at Washougal a shit ton now, said that the shadows were so bad that he felt like he needed to get his eyes tested. So it was quite funny. Again,
I just think in general that bothers the crap out of some riders.
But again, reporting on the sport, you've got a rider who's racing Washougal for the first time who says absolutely no problem, and then a rider who has been at Washougal a shit ton and says yes, it's a problem. Like, cool. But Harrop, so first moto, I need to dive into this as well. He was keeping pace with the riders in front of him in 7th, 8th, 9th, around there. But I was stood by the whoops again, and he looked terrible. But then each lap, he would lose so much time in the whoops, but then starting the whoops each lap, he would be back in a similar position. So I was like, he must be gaining the time back on the other ends of the track and then losing it in the whoops. And I put this to him after the race and said, like, with all due respect, the whoops looked like we weren't exactly having the greatest time of our lives. And he said Jordan told him to put his ass back, shift to 4th gear, and be wide open. And Harrop replied, sure, if I fucking knew how to do that. So there you go. That's an assessment of the whoops.
That was good.
That's an assessment of the whoops from Mikael Harrop. And then also Jordan, speaking of Jordan, I said to him is that RJ must inspire you to get on the 450 because it's although it's a greater challenge, it's kind of proof of concept that this can be the same or better. And he said, yeah. He said, depending on when I go 450 in Supercross or Motocross, I'm excited. And I was like, that's interesting because I've not heard of Triumph not running a 450 in Supercross recently. I heard that at Seattle, but I've not heard that come up again in some time.
Because it was, if Malcolm was in, Jordan wouldn't move to outdoors, and then with Malcolm not going there, Jordan was going to do it all year. But then I know they've still been working and testing on it. I could see them, just saying, F it, wait till outdoors.
I thought that was interesting. Ryder D was very interesting on press day. I like Ryder D, by the way. I'm a Ryder D guy now, I've decided. So look forward to that coming up. I don't know what that entails, but stay tuned.
So what's that include?
We'll figure out the base package and all of that coming up. He said on press day that he looked at Washougal as a massive opportunity because ultimately he can't get a start when the dirt is soft, but he knew he could get a start at Washougal. And he said there was some pressure from his own side because he was like, this is my chance. And to be fair to him, he capitalized. He even said that interview that he did with me on press day was on his mind in the day because he was like, I've even put it out publicly now that this is my, I've got no excuse this weekend. And yeah, fair play to him. The result doesn't reflect how well he rode. And yeah, I was quite impressed with Ryder D. I think Ryder D's going in a good direction. And I did say to him on press day, something that I've hammered on this podcast for some time, I still feel quite surprised that you're even racing because I feel like it's a minor miracle after your injury that you can even be back on the bike at this point. And he did agree to an extent. So, I like Ryder D. I'm Ryder D guy. So, stay tuned. I don't know what's coming as a result of that. Maybe merch, I don't know. Kitchen. You know what? I'm not even talking about it. You talk about Kitchen because
what I said earlier. This kind of goes back to, I've said this a couple weeks ago. I'm just a little baffled at times, and this comes down to what I said last week about J Mark coming back. Like, sometimes I just feel like I say this as a joke, but it's not a joke. Sometimes I just feel like guys in the 250 class don't actually want to win, and I don't mean that harshly against him. I just wonder about some of these guys' headspace sometimes. Like Levi, we've seen him. He is as good as Deegan and Shimoda on the right days, but the ability to be there even consistently is, I don't get it. If there's something going on, please speak up, Levi. I'm lost.
I mean, Levi's never really been good at Washougal. So very sad.
I don't know the home race, but still.
I mean, it's a very similar season to last year if you really break it down. I mean, at this point, he had started winning last year, but if you ignore the wins, maybe say they're coming after the break, it's fairly similar.
Do you feel like the wins are coming after the break?
No.
Yeah, then we are worse than last season.
I mean, okay, at this point, season to season, he's had more podiums this year. If you want some positivity.
You know what I mean?
I mean, last year he had 3 podiums, 1, 2, 3. This year he's had 4 podiums, all thirds. So more podiums, but arguably less attractive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unless peak performance hasn't been as high.
I haven't really got anything else on 250s. Oh, no, we do have something else on 250s. So the Jalik Swell situation. First of all, people on my Twitter, you have to understand I'm not watching the race on TV. So when I see Jalik get black flagged and you're all going, oh, he was knocked out, I can't see that. Yeah. I'm not in a helicopter, first of all. Second of all, I don't know if there's some controversy with this, but it does seem like there's going to be, because in the Triumph PR, Scuba said the qualification, Jalik pulled the whole shot in Moto 1, then crashed on the second lap and was stuck under his bike. That created a controversy that will be addressed where he was not allowed to race a second moto. So they are going with the line that he wasn't knocked out, he was stuck under his bike.
It must have been told quickly as a reason, because I noticed after, because this week we had the gap again between the motos. When I came back to the press tent, his bike was on the stand, dirty. They hadn't even washed it. Like, they must have been told right after the moto, he's not allowed, because they didn't even, kind of weird, they didn't even attempt to get his bike ready.
Well, I would imagine when they made the decision to black flag, that at that point the decision for the second moto was already made, because if you're going to go as extreme as a black flag, to then go, you can race a second moto, it kind of means the black flag wasn't warranted. But yeah, that they're going with a stuck under the bike angle would seem like the situation. So I don't know. We haven't done a MotorX read, and I don't have Tom Vial this week, so I don't know what to do other than I don't know what to do. We need a corner of some description. Let's do the Chase Celebration Corner, the CCC. Well done, Chase. Great work. Great work on the interview. Everyone seemed to love it.
The China Communist Party? CCP? What?
Whatever you want. CCP.
Oh,
the Chase...
Wow. Didn't know you were a communist.
The Chase Celebration Corner, presented by MotorX. Congrats to Chase and congrats to MotorX on a terrific weekend where they put MotorX on top of the podium. Once more, MotorX, known for high-quality engine oils, also has an entire line of clean care and lube products to keep your bike running strong and looking great. Maintenance made easy with race-proven MotorX clean care and lube products. Normal programming will be resumed at Ironman because Tom was only missing one race. In fact, I think he should be back on a bike this coming week. So, yeah, that's good. Any final thoughts?
250 SMX points might be interesting to watch last three. That's why Colin Park came back, Washougal, and raced at 250 outdoors for the first time because he's trying to stay in seeded points. Came into the race, scored 6 points, went from 20th to 22nd. However, ahead of him, RJ's not racing a 250 in SMX. Cody Schock isn't, so that defaults him back up to. But then you have right behind him, Lux Turner's only a point back from Colin right now. Masterpool's supposed to return. He's 18 points back. Jalik is 30 points back, but clearly on the right weekend can score huge points. So final spot in 250s might be kind of fun to watch over the final three races. It's going to tighten up quite a bit and have quite a bit of movement for SMX.
Max has been asking me if I think he can make it if he races the last three, and I've told him straight up there's no chance. But now that I look at it, maybe there is.
78. No, what's he going to score on average a weekend? 35 points?
No, that's too high. Let's say 9-9 every week.
What's 9-9 is
25, 22, 24.
No, I would say no.
I mean, I've been saying to him, there's absolutely no chance. You may as well not try. But looking at this, there is at least a chance. I think that's too. But then Jalik ahead of him. Jalik's going to move up.
I don't think so.
Neither do I.
He'd have to beat the average.
Imagine having Max and Dax in the LCQ would be. I mean, we haven't really had a super stacked LCQ yet from a factory standpoint, have we?
Yeah.
So that's quite.
We'd have Max, Dax, and LCQ.
I mean, right now we'd have Jalik, but he'll get in.
Yeah. One other looking down the points, I guess we can ride off seeing Mumford for the rest of the year. Stephen and a bunch of guys were saying, I think him and Quadlock may have finally parted ways.
Guess we unlocked that quad. Oh, and the only other thing SMX-wise is now Anderson's out of SMX. That is another position in 450s.
Yeah, for 450s. Where's that put? I need to go look at 450s real quick. Because who's on the bubble? Oh, that puts, Guillaude's well in now. Cody will be in basically after the next round. That
Kulas
puts
should
Harry. Huh?
Kulas should get in, I'd imagine.
Kulas should get in. Patrell, his is a bit of a... Well, he was that much farther back than Kulas. He needs to gain a little bit. So who's out on 450s? Because Dylan's coming back. Is it just Jason in that top group that's missing?
I'll tell you what. There seems to be a little bit of weirdness about Christian Craig filling in for Cooper Webb, which was the deal all along.
I forgot about that.
But if he comes back, he could get into SMX. Like, it's definitely worth a shot. So if they don't let him race at the end of the season and give him the shot to get into SMX, that kind of tells you a lot about where that's at.
Oh, dude, no, he has to score over 60 points in 3 races.
He'll do that, won't he?
More than 60, because look at where, like, Cody's going to become, like, the bubble guy. I guess it depends if Shane comes back. Because, look, Shane's up at 192. Harrison's still scoring points every weekend.
It's at least worth a punt.
It's worth it should have been this last weekend if that's their case, because it's tight to do it across the last 3.
But yeah, like if they don't even like give that a shot, then that really tells you a lot about where that sort of relationship and intentions are at. Unless they are just like, fuck it, we'll go to the LCQ. Yamaha dominating the SMX LCQs at this point with Max, Dax, and Christian.
I have a messed up question.
Oh boy.
Is Craig's... Okay, again, Craig had a Supercross only contract. Does that even include SMX at all?
Yeah, he said it does.
The LCQ. Okay.
But it's also meant to include filling in for Webb, Tomac, or Jakub.
Well, that clearly isn't happening, so... now I'm questioning the rest of that.
No one knows, but we'll get to the bottom of that and more in the coming weeks. A couple of weeks off from Pro Motocross now. We'll have more podcasts and such to fill the void. Don't worry about that. Not sure exactly what yet. We will see. Any final thoughts? Or are we done?
Oh, we're done. I think we'll loop back. We'll take, next weekend off, but we'll probably do another show the second off weekend.
Yes.
That's our plan. So we'll see y'all then.
Yes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you once again to Decal Works, Yamaha Motor USA, MotorX, Fox Racing, and Yoshimura for all of their support of this podcast. It is much appreciated. And thank you to everyone for listening. We will see you in a week or 2 with more SMX World Championship discussion. See you then.